Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Jess Lenore in Baltimore. On Wednesday, some 140 abruptly fired workers from Baltimore's ESPN Zone in 2010 were finally able to celebrate after a judge finalized a settlement awarding them damages totaling $235,000. Earlier this year, the federal judge, Catherine C. Blake, found that ESPN Zone, a Disney subsidiary, failed to give workers the necessary 2 months' notice warning they were going to be laid off, as required by federal law. ESPN declined to comment for this story. The laid-off employees found support from the Baltimore-based grassroots group United Workers, who said in a statement that this victory is only the beginning and indicative of wider problems in the city's development model, which focuses heavily on the Inner Harbor, a major tourist attraction. The United Workers said they have documented chronic wage theft, abusive working conditions, lack of health care and sick days, and failure to respond to workplace injuries. Now joining us to discuss this is one of the laid-off employees, Emanuel McCray. He's also a member of United Workers on their leadership council. He was fired from ESPN Zone with no warning. He worked there as a DJ and a host. He's also an Iraq War veteran and currently battling cancer. Emanuel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So you've been through a lot over these last 3 years. Talk about how it feels right now to take on one of the most powerful corporations in the country and end up winning.
To win is definitely a great feeling, being somebody who's a low-wage worker on behalf of other workers who just stood up or didn't know what to do, to stand step against a giant. Prior to that, it was I would say it was definitely a struggle because it was a back and forth game that was probably behind my comprehension or other people's comprehensions from the legal side who fought on our behalf.
And talk about the working conditions you faced there. You said you were a low-wage worker. How much money did you make there? What was it like to work there? And also, how did you find out that you were getting laid off as ESPN Zone was closing down in the Inner Harbor?
When I was working there at the time, I was making like $10 an hour, but the hours on average didn't reflect itself, especially during the wintertime, living off of 5 to 10 hours a week. Had to, work another job during the summertime months. Yes, hours is pretty fine. And ESPN Zone was one of my favorite restaurants to work with. I was just totally shocked that they had the nerve to shut down, and they had the respect and decency to let the workers know that, hey, we're going to shut down. Why don't you prepare yourselves to leave out, get yourself other jobs? They didn't do that.
How did you find out?
A leakage. Somebody from the corporate office leaked it out to the news. Maybe, I don't know if they felt sorry or whatever, but they leaked out the news, and it was reported that we had to watch on the news that that they were shutting down. So that and in the process of that, when they leaked it out, they just kept it open for 1 more week longer, which their original intention was just to shut down the next day, and we just come to padlock doors and had to wait for a meeting for them to set up to have to tell about what they was going to do with us.
So you had to get the workers organized. You came together. You got legal representation. You went to court, and now 3 years later, you finally gotten a victory. The judge is sealed off on the deal. What are the lessons for you and other workers here in Baltimore and around the country in getting justice from a corporation that's done you wrong?
What I learned is definitely you have to have patience from fighting a major power, because I'll try to tell people before, it's not ESPN Zone who had let us go. The company was owned by Disney, and for me, it affected me in a major way. But what I tell people, you gotta be patient, gotta research what's right, gotta take the time out and sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe if the more people were involved to fight with it, I believe the quicker the case would have done, more people in the community would stand up to make things happen. And that's just a big overall thing. In numbers, we are very strong. And if we stand together and not be divided by little smaller minor issues, we can make changes happen against companies like these.
And so you're also now part of United Workers. Talk a little bit about the work they do and what your future plans are in other businesses in the Inner Harbor, where workers kind of face some of the same conditions that you were facing.
Since on the onset, when the ESPN Zone had shut down, that very night when they leaked out the news, being on a break, I seen a couple of Memphis United workers came up and shows the way, gave us flyers so we could organize and fight this. And from that point, I got involved and I learned a lot. I mean, this organization been around for a while. They won a major Camden Yards victory prior to me coming in 2007 for low-wage workers who clean the stadiums. In the same time, process fighting was going on at the Inner Harbor, of learning what's going on with there. And what's going on, it just shocked me to hear that restaurants like Phillips, Cheesecake Factory, and then meeting other workers who worked right in the harbor being mistreated. We had our issues at ESPN Zone, but just the fact that, like, wow, this was really going on. I said, if I worked here, this could have been a whole lot worse for me and all. And for me personally, what it motivated me to do is to be active in the community, to fight for low-wage workers' rights, to let them know that your tax dollars are going into development that's out there, that you should have the right to speak up and have a say-so in what be placed in these areas which people are do not, using their rights that they are used for. And on that, like I said, just being a member of United Workers, it just motivated me a lot. And prior to me becoming United Workers, I was a political science major. And this is just the background information and platform I would love to use in need when my goal dreams of actually run for public office someday. Because in actuality, to make things really change, not only people stepping up, having people in office who really represents them and understands them to help make that change.
Emanuel McCray, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your victory.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.